My boyfriend and I have been together for 4 years, and about 2 years ago when the Rona hit, I moved in with him as we both lost our respective jobs and needed to save a bit from gas and utilities. Since then I have found a new office job, and my boyfriend takes some odd jobs online, but he basically stays at home most of the time. My boyfriend has always been on the controlling side. He wanted me to cut all my male friends from my life. Hindsight is 20/20, I know, but in his defense, he also cut all contacts with women, or at least to my knowledge. My boyfriend has always been very adamant that he doesn't condone cheating, and even if someone else in his life was a cheater, he would cut them out of his life. The relationship has had its ups and downs. We have had a fair share of arguments, and a few months ago we hit a rough patch, but recently things were looking okay for a while, or so I thought. My boyfriend has become quite guarded with his phone lately, including hiding it if I look over his shoulder. He has never done this before, and it's very not like him. I am very open with my personal tech items. He's always welcome to look through my phone and laptop because I have nothing to hide. We even know each other's phone passwords. My gut feeling kept telling me that something was wrong, so when I got up for work this morning while he was still sleeping, I admit, I shouldn't have done what I did. I took his phone from the nightstand and checked out his conversations. My boyfriend has been chatting with a girl he met online, 25? I only skimmed through the last few messages as I didn't want him to wake up and catch me snooping, but they have been texting back and forth every day while I was at work and sending each other nudes. I was so shook and disgusted. I don't know when it all started, but I assume it's been at least a month, because that's when I first noticed the suspicious phone guarding behavior. Honestly, no matter how much I look for a solution, there's no coming back from this. I know I have to leave. I didn't confront him yet because I don't want him to try and persuade me to stay or spin it that it's my fault. I also don't believe in closure, so there's really no use in telling him that I know. Here's where I need advice. I have a place to move to, and I have to move all my stuff. I don't want to have him damage my stuff to spite me or something. He has a history of throwing my possessions when angry, so I'll have people come help me move when he's not in the house. We have separate finances, so that's not an issue. The problem is, we have a dog. I adopted him with his approval when I moved in with him. I'm saying it's technically my dog since I do 90% of the dog activities. He rarely takes him out, and I buy all the dog toys and dog food. Basically, he's the fun parent that gets only the pets and hugs. I know he loves the dog and the dog loves him, but I don't think he'd be able to take care of him and get up at 6 a.m. to walk him. My baby is also too used to the house and us, and he'll probably be stressed out if I move him. Should I take the dog with me without telling my soon-to-be ex, or should I leave the dog with him? Another thing I need advice for is, should I leave him a note or a message with any explanation? Update 1. So will now stand for significant other, which means my boyfriend. A few people asked for an update. It will be a lengthy one, so brace yourselves. One particular comment stuck out to me, that my pet doesn't know what's best for them and they could roll in literal shit and be happy, which really solidified my decision. As a preface, I'd like to apologize. I was paranoid that I could be found out, so I altered a couple of details in the original, one of which was that we owned a cat, not a dog. However, I was still doing 90% of the caring for the cat. On to the update. After reading all the comments and making the decision to take the cat, I called my best friend, her boyfriend, and my parents to tell them I'm breaking up and discuss logistics. I also told them to not mention anything in writing on the off chances that So sees the messages. It took me quite some time to put everything in motion, 3 weeks to be precise, in which time I was doing my best to act like everything was okay while secretly moving some of my stuff to my parents' place to ease the final load. Finally, last Friday morning, best friend, her boyfriend, and my dad came. We loaded up everything on my father's truck and left. The whole ordeal took 1.5 hours. I was honestly amazed how much stuff I managed to accumulate for just 2 years. I took everything that I paid for out of my pocket, including a monitor and a headset that I lent him due to his equipment breaking, and he never bought new ones. The only thing I left was a queen-size bed I bought shortly after moving in. I also made sure to log into X's World of Warcraft account to cancel his subscription, which was paid from my bank account. I left a note on his desk that basically said, "Do not panic, you have not been robbed." I just took all my stuff and left. I'm taking the cat with me because I don't trust you to take care of her properly. Do not call me, my friends, or my family. We have already had the talk, so there's nothing else to say. Have a nice life, your ex. I didn't tell him I know about the cheating because at this point it was irrelevant. In retrospect, it was just the last straw on top of many other problems. But hindsight is always 20/20. I blocked his number and never looked back. Sure enough, he messaged me on WhatsApp as soon as he came back to the empty flat. The gist of the messages was that we could have done it the civil way, Lamau, and why did I take the cat this way? We raised her together and he loved her. He also tried to call 3 times but gave up soon after. I then blocked him on WhatsApp as well. The next few days were pretty uneventful. Yesterday, he showed up at my workplace unannounced. I was pretty annoyed but didn't want to make a scene in front of the colleagues, so I took a break and went out with him to the park across the street. Knowing him, he wouldn't just fuck off and leave me alone. He said he wanted closure and that I owed it to him after all these years. The conversation was mostly boring, so I'll highlight the important details. He said he wanted my monitor back and that he's willing to pay for it or trade me his new one, which is better but wasn't with the same curve that he was used to. I told him that I like my monitor and tough luck. The best part is he went out, bought a new monitor, set it up to play WoW, but realized that I also took the headset. He then asked his mother to buy him one and she bought headphones without a mic. Pity. He asked to have the cat back. He offered me money, offered me all his crypto savings and even offered me 60k gold in WoW, Lamau. I told him some things can't be bought with money. He then asked to co-parent and when I said no to that too, he asked to at least say goodbye to her in person, also denied. I brought up that I'm the cat's primary caregiver and he can't even clean her shit. He replied he could when push comes to shove but didn't since I was doing those things anyway, despite him being in the flat almost 24/7. I also pointed out that if he really loved the cat that much, he'd want the best for her and to be with the one who takes care of her, instead of wanting to keep her for selfish reasons. He kind of agreed on that. The most baffling part, he offered to pay me to go grocery shopping together. We used to that all the time when we were together. I pointed him to a couple of sites where he can buy groceries and have them delivered. He said it was too much work. I told him to adjust and evolve. He also apologized one too many times for hurting me, to which I replied every time I wasn't hurt, I was just disgusted and cringed at the conversations I read, to which he got offended and mumbled that it was private, you know. Not once did he mention the side chick, even then he didn't have the balls to admit to the affair. In their messages there was a recurring joke that if he comes to the hotel where she works, they'd have to fuck in the janitor's room. I brought her up a couple of times, told him I wish them both the very best and since I left him the bed, he doesn't have to worry about fucking in the janitor's room anymore. He asked to be friends multiple times. I told him, also multiple times, he betrayed me and he's a pathological liar and I don't want to be friends with a dishonest person. He legit couldn't comprehend how his dishonesty impacts a potential friendship. He said he wanted to tell me he wasn't committed to me anymore but couldn't bring himself to do that. I pointed out the hypocrisy of him blowing up at me for platonically talking to male friends online but he cheats the moment a semi-attractive woman comes his way. He said that a woman cheating on a man is the greatest sin but a man cheating on a woman is not so severe. Fuck. The rest of the conversation was him trying to play buddy-buddy and talk to me about his life and me reminding him that I'm not interested in his life and that he's a closed chapter to me. After what seemed to be eternity, we said our, hopefully, final goodbyes and I went back to work. In conclusion, for the past week since I left, I've felt like a huge load had dropped off my shoulders. I have all the time in the world, I'm working on myself, I'm reconnecting with people I haven't talked to in years, I'm trying to live my best life and I don't regret anything. There were good times, there were bad times, it was a valuable experience and a lesson learned what to look for in a partner and, more importantly, what not to overlook. Huge thanks to Eve, Reone that commented on my post. You really gave me the push I needed to make what I hope is the right decision. I was contemplating whether to write this last update or not. A bunch of things have happened since I last posted and eventually, I figured we are all more or less people who laugh at their own farts and enjoy the occasional justice boner so I decided y'all might appreciate how karma has caught up with X. Disclaimer and some background, I left out a lot of information in the original post and altered a lot of details to make sure X does not find the post and connect the dots. Our real ages are 28, him, 33, me, and 34, side chick. X and I were together for almost 7 years, not 4. X had a chronic disease, nothing fatal if threaded, very manageable and a lot of people with the condition can work. He was of course using it as an excuse not to work, even online work, and mooch off me. We lived with his mother who was supporting his narrative that he is too sick to work. X was abusive, first only verbally but it progressed to physical abuse. I omitted most of this information in the first post because I wanted an unbiased opinion whether to take the cat or not. Even though the cheating was the last nail in the coffin of our relationship, I was actually contemplating leaving him for almost a year before the actual fact and on occasions where he ramped up the abuse. I will withhold giving examples for the time being because the topic might be traumatic for some readers. My last update ended with X coming to work to offer me pixel money for my cat. This was in August 2022, I vacated his flat at the end of July. I thought everything was said and done and I would not hear from him again. Spoiler. I was wrong. Since the breakup he has messaged me about every 3 months on Discord for various bullshit, like how he lost his best friend or asking for photos of the cat. I didn't block him on there in case either of us needed to exchange items we forgot at our respective places. Sometime in March I found out by chance that he's still using my old League account. He has been banned on 3 different accounts for toxicity. I gave him the password while we were dating but I did not think he would have the audacity to continue using it after we broke up. The kicker is, all it would take would be to ask me to use it and I would have no problems with it. It really rubbed me the wrong way that he could message me with his woe is me crap on 4 different occasions but conveniently forgot to mention that he is still playing on my account. I wondered for about a week whether to let it slide or to just change the password, then he contacted me again about wanting to ask me something. I shot this down and reminded him that I explicitly told him not to contact me. He said okay. This lasted for a fortnight until he messaged me again, saying that he will ask his question regardless. I pointed out how I told him not to contact me and he could not respect even that. So he has learned nothing as he still does not give a fuck about other people's boundaries. The question was, what did it feel like to be with a complete monster for 7 years? Why did you stay for so long? Apparently, the lad was going through some kind of epiphany phase. There were a lot of crocodile tear-laced explanations that followed, the gist of it that he was doing some reflections. He realized he is a complete lunatic and needs help and apologized for how he behaved. I also found out that he spent all his savings and disability money, including the crypto he offered me for the cat. So he could not take me up on the offer to buy my LOL account. Sag. Also, to nobody's surprise, his little affair did not work out. I did not ask for details, but what he said was, "I think I finally met a person who is more sick and broken inside than me," which is quite an achievement. Few months prior to this revelation, a WoW friend from the side chicks country messaged me. For context, we are all Europeans and play on the same servers. Friend knew my side of the story, and when he found out that side chick is flying to my and ex's country, he put two and two together. He told me he does not expect much from their relationship since a year ago the chick was dating a mate of his, broke his heart and flew somewhere else for the next WoW guy that gave her attention. Knowing these facts and after what X said, I mentioned to him how it was ironic that he cried cheating. If I was 5 minutes late after work, but decided to involve himself with a woman who was practicing cheating as a sport. He agreed that it was quite ironic indeed and that he had to lay in the bed that he made, which was sort of mature on his part, I suppose. Also, did I mention he was too dumb to wire his own debit card to his WoW account? This is why he could not play anymore? Well, yeah. But I guess also because he lost his sugar mommy that was paying for it and failed to secure another. As for me, Kitty and I are thriving. I am active. I lost 12 kilograms since the breakup and I am getting back in shape, even though I lost the excess weight the moment I dumped the ex. I have reconnected with most of my friends and apologized for not contacting them very much in the past 7 years and explained why. They were very understanding and things have gone very much to how they were before. Now second story. Wife's PTSD and lack of libido has caused a dead bedroom for the past 4 years, and now she refuses to have a few hours alone to try it. I'm a 28-year-old man, and my wife is 29. Our daughter will be 7 months old in September. We've been together for almost 5 years and will be celebrating our second wedding anniversary soon. We live in a place surrounded by family, but they're all at least 2+ hours away. We both work full-time, so our daughter goes to daycare. We have 3 cats, and while we make ends meet, we save a bit for small adventures or emergencies. My wife has PTSD from giving birth. She's scared that having sex might lead to complications or another pregnancy. Her pregnancy was high risk, but, thankfully, both she and our baby are healthy. However, our bedroom life has been a struggle for 4 years. When we first started dating, we had sex 3 to 6 times a week. I felt better than ever, physically and mentally. But then something changed. My wife had an issue during sex once, and although her OB assured us it was temporary, things never went back to normal. She switched medications for birth control, ADHD, and depression, and her libido vanished. Note, I do not remember exactly what the name of the complication was. There were a couple of complications or excuses throughout 4 years. At one point she had back surgery, at another point she had vaginal surgery, which she fully recovered in 3 weeks, and at another point, she changed her medications again. We got through all of it together, but there was still a lack of sexual intimacy all these years. Outside of recovery periods, she'd have a random excuse as to why she's not in the mood. At the end of the day, it was simple, her libido appeared to have vanished. Note, my wife has never gotten a test for this nor seems to have any interest in doing so. For the longest time, my wife blamed her new birth control but refused to change it. We discussed our sex life with a marriage counselor, and my wife kept saying, once we get married, I can get off birth control, and my drive should come back. I asked for a couple of months of frequent sex before trying for a baby, but she always laughed or rolled her eyes. Our counselor suggested I masturbate, but it didn't help much. After we got married, we had sex twice in the 2 weeks we were off with just the 2 of us. At one point, we were stuck in a hotel during our honeymoon due to a hurricane, but she wasn't in the mood. I felt incredibly insecure. She eventually got off birth control, and our sex life improved slightly. We had sex once a month. When I asked if we could try something to boost her libido, she refused. Finally, she agreed to talk to her doctors, she changed her depression medication, and that's when her drive started coming back. We had sex about 3 times in a single month before we found out she was pregnant. It was July 2023. We were both very excited and happy to finally be having a baby. We jumped on top of each other and it felt like we were going to have sex again. But, out of nowhere, my wife rejected me. Gave no reason or explanation. During her pregnancy, we had sex 3 times, once on our anniversary in September 2023, and twice in November of 2023. Since then, we haven't had sex. Not once. There were several times she'd tease me as if we were going to, but never did. It's been 8 long months now with no changes, and it'll be 10 months when we reach our wedding anniversary in September. Last weekend, we were on a road trip listening to the 2 Hot Takes podcast. There was a story about a husband with a dead bedroom for 3 years. My wife noticed I was getting depressed and put her hand on my shoulder. After the story, she assured me she loved me but needed time to recover from her PTSD. I was frustrated as I know our bedroom has been dead for way longer than that. I had brought up I wanted us to go to counseling, but she almost immediately changed the subject. A few days later, I brought up our wedding anniversary. I was hoping that we'd possibly be able to have sex if she consented to it. My thought was us staying in a hotel room with just the two of us. She just says, maybe, but we have our daughter now. I asked about having one of our mothers babysit for a weekend. She said no, that's too long to be without her. I asked about a night. She said no, she doesn't want to sleep without her in the room yet, we have before, but we were in the house and one of our mothers had her with them. I then asked if we just have a few hours by ourselves in the evening, when we leave to go back home to our daughter and we just have a few hours in a hotel. She again, said no. I replied, I just want to be able to be intimate with you again. I miss you so much and I want to be close to you. I'm here for you, and I know you're going through a lot and have PTSD. But I'm trying my best to try and make this work. My wife just replies, I know. Then, she will either walk away or change the subject. We've had a multitude of the same conversations in different ways for a couple of years. Every time, we're sitting down alone and having a serious conversation. My wife acknowledges my feelings but rejects my suggestions and doesn't offer alternatives. She always says one of the following: the years of rejection are starting to get to me harder than the past 4 years. I have no intention of ever leaving my wife as I love her so much and she's my person. Sex is something that has proven to help both of our mental health when regulated. But now, I'm not sure if things will ever be like they used to or even close. Am I the asshole to ask for just a few hours for us to be alone to at least try to have sex on our anniversary? Update 1. The first is actually about the first complication that happened when we were dating for about 6 months. I did some digging at my old messages and remembered she had gotten a cut inside of her from my fingernail. We didn't notice it until we were having sex and it wasn't big enough to where it needed stitches. The medications were to prevent infection. Coincidentally, when she got the medications to prevent infection, my wife changed all her medications. They were starting to clash with each other, making her either have nausea, headaches, stomach pain, or she'd feel sadder than usual. Her psychiatrist helped her with her ADHD and depression medications while her OB helped with her birth control. The mix of the three caused the symptoms, not the sex altercation. There were a few unfortunate times where I accidentally cut her happened but they all went away on their own and were very, very tiny. My wife told me it's fine and she's content to keep going. With my eczema, I've had an issue with being very itchy pretty much my whole life. This made my fingernails over time super sharp. I have to cut them frequently just to not accidentally cut myself. My nails chip every now and then, which also doesn't help. My wife has been very loving and understanding with this issue for me and has never judged me for it. Later on, the surgery she had was a small mass. At first we thought it was cancer, but it was built up tissue. We got it out and the recovery period was 3 weeks. My wife initiated sex the second that ended. This was all before her back surgery. Nothing else alarming or concerning after that and no surgeries on the inside again. Now to her back surgery. She had surgery at L5S1, spinal fusion. This caused chronic pains that come back if she does too much lifting or outserts herself. I helped her through the entire process from when her back started hurting, her surgery, and after. It was the first time she was having surgery in a hospital to where she needs to have anesthesia. She was very scared, but she brought it up to all her friends and family that she couldn't have done it without me. She was told she couldn't have sex for 6 weeks. Ironically, she kept asking for sex and I had to tell her no. The doctor was very persistent in telling us not to as it could mess with the spinal fusion. So, I had to keep saying no. The second it was 6 weeks, she jumped on top of me. My wife had to change her medications a couple of times after this over a couple of years. She had told me she's trying to fix 3 things: being able to focus, have a higher sex drive, and be less depressed. There were ups and downs, and sometimes our bedroom was dead for months while others not. Nothing was consistent, which neither of us liked. Getting updates didn't always happen, but she'd express that she wants to have sex, but has no drive. My intrusive thoughts interpret that as, she doesn't want me. I'd like to answer one more question before the update. Divorce isn't an option because I never want to spend the rest of my life without her. The teasing bothers me, yes. The lack of sex for months bothers me, yes. But nothing would hurt me more than to be without her. I take her out to dinner, I help whenever I can around the house, I'm always there for her and my daughter, and we cuddle at least 5 times a day if not more. When it comes to sex, it does make this huge positive impact on our life and in our marriage. I will do whatever it takes to be with my wife and daughter for the rest of my life. Now, on to the update. I was working from home and I come sit with my wife and I pick up our daughter and sit on the couch. At first, my wife asked what I wanted for dinner. I was asking about what food we had, and she said she wasn't sure, so I checked. It dawned on me, the Trouble in Paradise? THT episode, Be Spontaneous. I told my wife, I'm going to take you out. I'd like to go on a date with you. She blushed and smiled, and got very excited. We got dressed and we went out, but I didn't tell her where we were going. A couple years ago, our favorite Mexican restaurant had closed down due to a fire. It had a special meaning for us. It was the first place we had dinner when we moved in together. The restaurant had just reopened, and I took her there as a surprise. We had a lot of fun. We drank, we ate, and more importantly, queso. We had a chance to talk about sex. My wife brought it up first. She said she wanted to give me an update, saying she's starting to feel a little something again, but usually goes away when the baby cries. Our daughter is actually very chill, and we co-parent extremely well. My wife talks about me in public all the time, and so do even strangers. I get compliments about how great I'm doing when in reality I have no idea what I'm doing. Anyways, I told her I had made a decision about the vasectomy and how I want to go through with it. She asked if I was sure, and that I don't feel like she's forcing me to. I said she's not. I said right now we need sex, and if we end up having another one it'll be in 5 years or more. She asked if I'm sure as there's a chance it won't be reversible. I told her that it's okay if it doesn't because we will find a way to have another one if we're financially able to. We have a plan. I have a doctor picked out and my insurance looks like it's covering most of it and within our budget. As for timing, we're looking for ASAP.